What's going on, guys? This is Chandler Smith, and in today's video, I'm gonna explain why you need to sell your home right now. I'm also gonna talk about a couple reasons why you most definitely should not. So with all of that being said, let's jump into it. All right, guys, if you're new to the channel, I've been investing in real estate for the last 9 years. I currently own over 160 units of residential real estate. I also own about 160 storage units, and I love all things real estate. However, if you follow my channel, you know that I just released a video sharing that I believe we are in somewhat of a real estate bubble. Now, in this video, I talked about a myriad of things that I believe have kind of helped to create this bubble. First off, we've had extremely low interest rates. We've also had very low supply when it comes to housing that's been caused by those low interest rates, but also a myriad of other things. We've had no labor, or at least very limited labor, in almost everything, especially when it comes to building homes. On top of that, we've had supply chain issues, we've had COVID, we've had Russia, we've had massive inflation because of government spending, and to top it all off, we just have massive demand because a lot of people right now want to buy a home. Now, I need to use right now carefully because that's kind of been the environment that we've been in for the last couple of years. All of these things have created an environment where prices have gone through the roof, especially on housing. Which brings us to today, where the Fed has decided to increase interest rates by over 2% in the last 90 days. I don't know if you guys know how crazy this is, but this is a massive deal because this limits your buying power in a huge way. The reason for this is we live in a world where everyone kind of lives month to month and they base all of their expenses on that. So when they're looking at a home, when they could buy it at a 3% interest rate, and now they're looking at a 5+% interest rate, that's going to dramatically increase their monthly payment on a home at the same price. And that dramatic price increase has happened just in the last 90 days. Now, here's the crazy part. Interest rates have gone through the roof, but everything I'm seeing says they're not going to stop here. As a matter of fact, the Fed has promised that there are going to be multiple other rate increases throughout the remainder of the year. With all of this craziness in our world, especially when it comes to real estate, this has left a lot of people wondering, what do I do next? Whether they're in a home that they were wanting to sell and upgrade to their dream home, whether they don't have a home and they were wanting to buy a home, or if they own a home and they're just nervous and they're thinking maybe I should go back to renting. A lot of people are completely up in the air saying, what does this mean and what is the best move for me? And so in this video, I'm going to share with you that you should sell your house if you're in the right circumstances, or that you should not sell your house depending on your circumstances, or if you don't have a house, that you should buy one or completely avoid buying one. And I'm hoping by the end of this video, you'll have direction so that you can know the move that you should make. And the only thing I ask you to do is remember to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the little bell, and let's jump into it. First off, here's what you need to know and really understand. They've increased interest rates by over 2% in the last 90 days. So buying power has been extremely limited and the entire environment has changed because what you used to be able to buy at a certain monthly payment, that monthly payment has gone up a lot. However, there is still very limited inventory when it comes to houses and investment properties. When you look all over the nation, it's still really hard to find the home you're looking for. And a lot of times you're still in a bidding war because, again, the market hasn't really adjusted. These interest rates are in place, but there's still massive demand, at least right now. And I think a big reason for that is just because there's such limited supply. With this, you also need to understand that interest rates are going up. And so at some point, something has to give, and I believe that means we're going to have a lot more supply. But keep in mind, right now we don't. Everyone is playing a little bit scared. They're either scared and they just don't want to do anything, or they're worried with rising interest rates that if they're going to buy a home, they need to do it right now because it's only going to get worse. So a lot of people are very quickly listing their homes, hoping to sell them while the market is still high, and hoping to get into their next home while the interest rates are still somewhat reasonable, or at least better than we think they're going to be a couple months from now. The first situation I want to talk about is if you're in a situation like I am. And that is that I'm already building my dream home and I'm currently living in my existing home. My advice would be I need to get my home that I'm living in right now listed as soon as possible, because I want to take advantage of the fact that there's still limited supply even though interest rates have gone up. And I want to take advantage of the fact that there is fear that interest rates are only going to go higher. So hopefully someone will pay a premium for my home and they'll do it in a time frame before the market is overrun with a lot more supply. The other thing that I've worked hard to do is make sure that I locked in my interest rates on my build a long time ago, because I was worried at some point interest rates were going to go up due to all of the inflation that we've experienced here in the United States and everywhere. So if you're in a situation like me, do whatever you can to lock in your interest rates and do whatever you can to get your home sold now before there's a lot more supply out there, so that you can still demand a premium for your property. Here's another situation I want to talk about. Let's say you're living in an existing home, but you haven't found your next home and you're thinking about selling your home to get a premium for it. This might be a good thought process if things work out perfectly. However, the scary thing you've got to keep into consideration is there's a good chance that interest rates are going to go up. So every day your buying power is going down. And I don't think that the market is going to, I guess, correlate perfectly with that, where as interest rates go up, prices are automatically going to go down. I think we're going to stay in a market where interest rates have gone up, but because there is such limited supply, prices are going to stay at a premium. And so for you, I would suggest doing whatever you can to get the next house locked in and try and lock in the rates as soon as possible, because a lot of times banks will lock those for 90 to even 120 days. A lot of times that's not the case, but if you can get your situation locked in so you know what you're in for, that is going to be the best case scenario. Finally, let's say you're someone that's renting and you're thinking about purchasing your first home, or maybe you live in a home and you're thinking about purchasing your first investment property, but you're really scared because you want to take advantage of interest rates, but you also obviously don't want to put yourself in a bad situation by overpaying for a property. Here's what my advice to you is. If you find a property that you can comfortably handle budgeting that into your life and it makes sense, then it makes sense. Don't overextend yourself, especially right now, because you're worried that you're going to miss out on good interest rates. Make sure you find exactly what you want and that you can budget for it appropriately and that it's within your budget. A lot of times when you're purchasing a home, it's very easy to get very emotional. And that's where right now this market is scary, because if you decide you're going to buy a home and you have extremely high interest rates and you buy at a premium and then the market drops, you're kind of stuck in that home and in that situation. And that can be a very scary thing to be in as you're watching your home value go down if we do have some form of a correction. Now, let me make myself clear. I believe there will be a correction, but I don't think we're heading into another 2008. And the reason for this is we do have such limited supply. And I think if we got into a scenario like that the Fed would let up on interest rates, because I don't think they're going to let us go and just crash and burn. The other thing you've got to keep in mind is that right now it's very tempting to get loans with only a 5-year fixed interest rate. What I would say is, in your current situation, especially if you're getting into your first home, I think it only makes sense to still get a 30-year AM on the property. The reason for this is you want to make sure that your numbers work at that, because then you don't care if the market drops off and your home value tanks in value, which again, I don't think it's going to be that drastic, but if something like that does happen, at least you're locked in on your interest rate and that doesn't affect you, because you can sit on the home as long as you want and your monthly payment is not going to increase. Where it's scary is, let's say that things go absolutely berserk. The market tanks, interest rates go through the roof, and you have your rates changing every 5 years. You hit the 5-year point, rates are still extremely high because you timed them poorly. You're underwater on your house and interest rates have gone way up, and you're just gonna have to figure out what to do, because now your payment is bigger than you can afford and you can't sell your house to where you don't lose money and you're just absolutely screwed. Now, this was one of the situations that happened a lot in 2008. People had all of these adjustable rate mortgages. And so in my opinion, you should do whatever you can to stay away from that. Because if you lock it in, then it's just like anything where it's like, hey, this is an expense. I know it's not going anywhere. Alternatively, if you continue renting, your rent can go up and most likely will because of inflation. Or with rates that change, again, you could get 5 years into the home and we don't know where the market's gonna be at that point, and you might be in a really bad place because you can't afford your home because of those increasing interest rates. So make sure you're locking interest rates in for a long time and the numbers work for that. And I would still say now is a great time to buy a home if it makes sense for you, because I do think interest rates are going to go up. I don't think the market is going to have this catastrophic tank, but I do think it's very much going to level and maybe even have a slight dip due to what they're doing with interest rates. At the end of the day, here's the biggest advice you should keep in mind regardless of what situation you're in. You know rates are going up, so try and lock rates for as long as you can. Try and get that 30-year fixed loan. Make sure that it falls in line with your budget so that you know that you're going to be able to continue to afford it. And if you need to sell a home right now, do it. I'm not saying the market's going to drop right away, but I am saying right now interest rates are only going to go up, and the market is pretty freaking high right now. So in my opinion, it's a great time to try and unload your property. Use some of the fear with interest rates to unload it. Make sure you get your next home buttoned down and ready to roll with rates that you are comfortable with, that you can get locked in, and you're gonna be ready to rock and roll. And finally, don't play scared. You can always sit back and mitigate your risk and make decisions where you know you're gonna be able to handle them. So if you've wanted to get into that home, it's still not too late. You can still find a good deal on a property and you can lock in decent interest rates. Just make sure that you've budgeted properly, and that goes for wherever you are. Now, if you enjoyed this video, remember to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the little bell. If I didn't cover something or you've got other questions, make sure you let me know down in the comments. We'll look forward to seeing you in the future video. Thanks guys, have a great day.